It's fear that makes you believe you need someone or something external to move forward. The truth is, everything you need has already been placed within you. If we have the seed, the soil, and the fertilizer, what's missing? What's missing is a cycle. And that cycle only begins when you decide to sow and take action. Now let me give you an example. How many people do you know who spend 10, 20, or even 30 years not doing what they were called to do? They say, "Oh, I don't have the talent for that. I'm not creative." Oh, but let me ask you something. How can you not be creative if you are a child of God, the Creator? You were made in His image and likeness. Denying this is denying your own essence. Do you know what that is? It's fear speaking. It's the shame of putting yourself out there, of shining. But light isn't afraid to shine, is it? The ones who have a problem appearing are the shadows, because they can't stand the light. So stop hiding who you are. Let me share something about the human brain. Without even knowing you, I can confidently say this. Your brain has 99% unused space. And do you know what's worse? Most of that space sits idle, unproductive, while you're trapped in negative thoughts and fear. But there's a way to change that. Did you know you can make your brain productive even while you're sleeping? Yes, it's possible. I do it. I produce while sleeping, meditating, or even talking. You can train your brain to be so efficient that it's always engaged in productive activity. And if the brain is so powerful when idle, imagine when it's working at full capacity. Now, if you're carrying so much fear, I know why. You believe that fear is real, but often it's just a fantasy someone put in your head. At home, ever since my son Lorenzo was born, I've always told him, fear is afraid of us. Today, at 8 years old, he already understands this and says, fear is afraid of me. That's the kind of mindset we need to instill from a young age. When you let fear settle, it's like allowing a bird to build a nest in your head. Pay attention to this. You can't stop a bird from flying over your head or even trying to dirty it, but you have full control over whether it builds a nest there. The same goes for fear. You can't stop it from appearing, but you can decide whether it takes up residence in you. Life is like a big farm. Imagine you have 1,000 acres of land. It's impossible to prevent weeds from sprouting. But you know what you can do. Pull them out one by one, use technology, seek help and invent new techniques. The point is, you don't have to let the weeds take over your crops. You have the power to act, to remove what doesn't belong, and to protect what's valuable. That's the secret. Action. There's no point sitting around waiting for someone to fix things for you or for circumstances to change on their own. The cycle only completes with movement. So when fear comes, face it. When something seems impossible, do it anyway, because that's what transforms your land into fertile soil to reap everything you dream of. Let's imagine you have a large plantation. Everything is going well, but then someone comes and scatters weeds across your field. At first you might think about pulling them out one by one, but soon you realize that the more you tolerate those weeds, the harder they become to manage. The truth is, if you don't act quickly, you'll end up waiting until harvest time to try and solve the problem. And do you know what that means? A massive delay in your life. Now let me ask you a direct question. Are you afraid of being poor? Be honest. Most people are. And where does this fear come from? The news, comparisons, the idea that if something goes wrong, you'll lose everything. It's a fear that paralyzes. But the most important question is, in whom or what do you trust? Did you lose your job? Okay, but did you also lose your faith? Did someone criticize you, ruin your reputation in a town? Let me share something. I've faced situations where people slandered me online. I was attacked from all sides. Do you know what I did? I looked at the clock and counted. In 7 days, no one was talking about it anymore. That's how it is. Everything is temporary. The secret is to keep planting, even when others try to stop you. Because what happens when you stop? You start chasing after those trying to tear you down instead of continuing to move forward. Here's a clear example. Imagine someone steals one of your seeds. If you stop planting because of that, you're letting the thief win twice. Do you know what I do? I say, be blessed. Because honestly, stealing doesn't bless anyone. Thieves don't prosper. I keep planting because I know my future depends on the seeds I sow, not the ones that were stolen from me. Now, some people live in fear of everything, even criminals. They think there's a thief on every corner, ready to steal their cooktop. Do you know why these things happen? Because fear attracts. You're terrified of being robbed, and the thief terrified of getting caught, ends up finding you. It's a cycle. So, how did I resolve this? I stopped watching TV. It's been 8 years since I last watched the news, and it has transformed my life. Let me explain the impact of this. If you consume news all day, you end up thinking the government is going to collapse, your business will fail, or the world is ending. This constant pressure destroys you. You can't think of solutions, you just keep feeding the fear. When I turned off the TV, the fear started fading on its own. I decided to focus on action, and action is what kills fear. Remember this. Positive action facing fear. If something paralyzes you, face it. Don't wait for circumstances to change. Change yourself. There was a time when I had a partner training to win a UFC championship belt. I invested in him, trained alongside him, and learned a lot about facing challenges. Do you know what that taught me? That life has 3 modes you must master to win any battle. In life, you will always have to fight. And here's a truth. If you're in the fight, you're winning in some way, even if you're getting beaten up. But if you give up, you lose everything, even your dignity. Giving up is not an option. It's like in the UFC, there are 3 types of fighters. The first wins and takes the full prize. The second, even if they lose, still takes part of the prize. But the third, the one who quits, pays a penalty, loses the respect of sponsors, and walks away with nothing, a failure. Now I ask you, who are you? Are you someone who's taking hits but at least securing part of the victory? Or are you someone who has given up? Because the truth is, many people are programmed to quit. They're ready to abandon the dreams God placed in their hearts, to desert their calling and become absent from their purpose. And do you know what's worse? Most of them don't even realize they're giving up. Let me give you a real example. Recently, during one of my team's races, we were doing well, competing for key positions, when the car suddenly shut off right before the finish line. The engine died in the middle of the curve. Believe it or not, we crossed the finish line with the car turned off. We went on to the next race, and there I was, determined to win. I was in 4th place, pushing hard, and the car shut down again. At that moment, I told my team, I don't want excuses. I want a car that works. I don't need you to hand me the podium, but I want to compete with something that's within my control. Do you know what I did? I instituted a ritual before every race. Disassemble the entire car. I want every part taken apart, piece by piece, to find any flaw, any defect. If there's a crack, wear, or problem, I want to know about it. Someone on the team even complained, we don't need to go that far. But yes, we do. Because if Formula One cars, when with $500 million budgets, still break down, who am I to accept anything less? And do you know what the problem is? It's not just fear holding you back. There's something even sneakier. Laziness. Procrastination is like fear's sibling. You know what needs to be done, but you keep putting it off, making excuses.